The rugged mountains of Montana's Paradise Valley have always been a frontier between civilization and wilderness. But on a frost-bitten October morning at the Blackwood Ranch, that boundary is about to shatter completely. They found her horse returned without its rider, Emma Blackwood, the daughter of one of Montana's most respected ranching families, presumably taken by the ruthless Víbora cartel. The local sheriff called it a kidnapping. The FBI called it an escalation. The cartel called it leverage. They were all wrong, because what no one knew, what no one could have guessed, was that behind that innocent rancher's daughter facade lay a secret that would turn this kidnapping into the cartel's worst nightmare. Emma Blackwood wasn't just another rural Montana girl. She was a former Marine Corps Special Operations Command, MARSOC operative with years of combat experience in the world's deadliest conflict zones. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The autumn wind whips across the Blackwood Ranch as Emma Blackwood adjusts her work gloves, her keen eyes scanning the mountain ridges with practiced precision. To anyone passing by, she looks like any other rancher's daughter tending to the family's prized cattle operation. They don't see how she catalogues every vehicle approaching the property, how she notices the subtle signs others would miss. Fresh tire tracks on rarely used fire roads, broken branches that speak of recent surveillance, dust patterns disturbed in too regular a pattern to be natural. Beautiful morning for a ride, her father, James Blackwood, calls out from the stables, his voice carrying the weight of 3 generations of Montana ranching tradition. Emma nods, but her attention never wavers from the ridgeline, where she's spotted 3 new observation points over the past week. The Víbora cartel is getting bolder, pushing deeper into Paradise Valley than ever before. Her satellite phone buzzes, a text from her brother Marcus. Sheriff Cooper wants to talk. More missing cattle reported across the valley. Emma's jaw tightens. The cattle rustling is just a cover, she knows. The cartels are testing responses, probing defenses, looking for weaknesses in the vast ranch lands that make perfect corridors for their operations. "I'll take Thunder out to check the north fence line," Emma calls to her father, already moving toward her favorite horse. What she doesn't say is that she's been tracking cartel movements all week, noting patterns in their surveillance. Something feels different today, more purposeful. The morning sun catches on Thunder's black coat as Emma guides him through familiar trails. Through her peripheral vision, she spots a dark SUV pulling onto the fire road behind her, maintaining distance. Emma allows herself a small smile. She's been followed by professionals in 7 different countries. These guys might as well be using neon signs. Her radio crackles to life. "Emma, your brother just called. Sheriff's got reports of suspicious activity near Cascade Creek. Multiple vehicles spotted off-road." Her father's voice carries concern he's trying to hide. "Copy that, Dad. I'll check it out." Emma responds, already noting how the SUV behind her has been joined by 2 more, trying to be subtle about their coordinated movements. She's been expecting this. The cartels aren't just running drugs anymore. They're diversifying, using ranches as fronts, pressuring families to cooperate or suffer accidents. The trail winds through rocky terrain, natural choke points that would make perfect ambush locations. Emma mentally maps fallback positions and cover spots while maintaining her relaxed posture. Let them think she's just another rancher's daughter out for a morning ride. "Emma, backup's available if you need it," her father radios, his instincts telling him something's wrong. She gives Thunder a gentle pat, feeling the familiar weight of her concealed sidearm. "No need, Dad. Pretty sure it's just some lost hikers." She doesn't mention the tail vehicles. Let them think they have the element of surprise. Emma guides Thunder to a stop in a small canyon, apparently checking something about his saddle. The SUVs behind her stop as well, maintaining their distance. Through her peripheral vision, she counts movement in the rocks. At least 10 armed. Men taking positions. Their technique is decent, but their confidence makes them sloppy. They're not here for cattle. This is about sending a message, showing they can take whatever they want, even the daughter of a prominent ranching family. Her phone buzzes. A text from Marcus. "Sheriff's 20 minutes out. Dad's worried." Emma allows herself a small smile as she types back, "Tell him I'm sorry." The cartel has been escalating for weeks, targeting ranches, testing responses. Now she knows why. This isn't random. This is coordinated, planned. The first shot takes out Thunder's saddlebag, exactly as she expects. The second follows quickly, hitting the ground near the horse's hooves, causing him to rear but not bolt. Professional shots designed to dismount without causing serious injury. They want her alive. Their first mistake. Emma lets herself fall from Thunder, playing into their expectations. They'll be waiting for panic, for desperate radio calls, for the fear they're used to seeing. Instead, she's already counting footsteps. On loose gravel, mapping their positions by sound. 10 in the rocks, 3 in the SUVs, 2 moving up on her left. 15 total. Armed but overconfident. "Miss Blackwood," a voice calls out in accented English. Through her tactical assessment, Emma recognizes the tone. Someone used to being obeyed, used to inspiring fear. She spots the speaker. Expensive tactical gear, custom weapon. This is no ordinary raid. This is Miguel Rojas, the Víbora cartel's Montana Operations Chief. "Last chance, señorita. Come quietly and your family doesn't have to get hurt." Emma checks her watch. Backup is still 15 minutes out. Perfect. She won't need nearly that long. "Okay," she calls back, raising her hands slowly. "Don't shoot. I'm coming out." She moves away from Thunder carefully, keeping her movements deliberate. Predictable. Let them think they're in control. Let them think this is going according to their plan. They don't realize they're not the hunters here. They're not even players in the real game that's about to begin. The autumn wind whispers through Paradise Valley as Emma Blackwood steps forward, hands raised, face a mask of fear that doesn't reach her eyes. Behind her innocent demeanor, behind the carefully constructed facade of a simple rancher's daughter, something else watches. Something that learned to hunt in far darker places than this Montana canyon. The game is about to begin. Gravel crunches under Emma's boots as she steps away from Thunder, letting him trot to safety. Miguel Rojas approaches, flanked by guards, his custom AR-15 hanging casually at his side. Amateur move. A real professional never takes their eyes off a target, never assumes compliance means surrender. "Check her for weapons," Rojas orders. When guard moves forward, hands already reaching for Emma's jacket, she allows him to find her small backup revolver, noting his grip, his stance, the way he favors his right leg. Former military, probably Guatemalan special forces from his technique, but sloppy now. Money and power have made them all complacent. "Just a revolver?" Rojas asks, suspicious. Most ranchers carry more substantial firearms for predators. "It was my grandfather's," Emma replies, her voice trembling slightly. Let them hear fear. Let them see what they expect. A frightened young woman in over her head. She keeps her hands visible, her posture submissive, while her mind records everything. 3 vehicles, 15 men, all armed with military-grade weapons. The middle SUV sits slightly lower than the others, loaded with something heavy. Drug shipment, most likely, but the weight distribution suggests something else. "You've been causing us problems, Miss Blackwood," Rojas says, circling her like a wolf. "Your family's stubborn refusal to cooperate, your constant patrols, your convenient calls to local law enforcement. Very brave for a rancher's daughter." "We're just protecting our land," Emma responds, adding a slight quiver to her voice. Rojas's hand strikes like a snake, grabbing her throat. Fast, but not fast enough. Emma could have him on the ground in 3 moves, but instead lets him see panic in her eyes. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. "Your land?" He squeezes slightly. "Your land is wherever we say it is." The smart ranchers understand this. They look the other way, take our money, live comfortable lives, but your family had to play hero. Emma's radio crackles. "Emma, what's your status? Sheriff's units are en route." Rojas nods to one of his men, who snatches the radio from her. "Belt." "Tell them everything's fine," Rojas commands. "Do it convincingly." "This is Emma," she says, keeping her voice steady. "False alarm at Cascade Creek, heading back to the ranch." She includes their duress phrase, "Beautiful morning." "For a ride, knowing her father will understand she's in trouble. Not that it matters. By the time help arrives, this will be long over." Rojas picks up a satellite phone, dials quickly, speaks in rapid Spanish. Emma catches fragments, package secured and proceeding to location 3. The response comes. In a voice that makes even Rojas stand straighter, Alejandro Cruz himself, the Víbora cartel's supreme leader, giving direct orders. "El Jefe wants to meet our troublemaker personally," Rojas announces. "Bag her." The black hood they pull over her head is cheap polyester, poorly woven. Emma could have it off in seconds, but instead struggles just enough to be convincing. They zip-tie her hands. Another amateur move. Flex cuffs would be harder to escape. Not that it matters. She counted steps to memorize positions before the hood went on. 2 men grab her arms, Rojas 3 steps back, others spreading out in a standard escort formation. They load her into the middle SUV. The suspension shifts as 3 men climb in, driver, front passenger, one beside her. The engine starts, transmission whining slightly on the lower gears. Useful information if she needs to disable vehicles. Later, "Command package is secured," someone radios, "en route to Casa de Muerte." The convoy moves out, taking a winding path through the mountains. Emma counts turns, estimates speed and direction. They're heading southeast, probably toward one of the cartel's main compounds. The road changes from dirt to pavement after 20 minutes, then back to dirt, a private road, recently constructed from the feel of it. Fragments of conversation reach her through the hood. The men are relaxed, joking about how easy the grab was, placing bets on how long she'll last under questioning. One voice stands out, harder, more professional. Carlos Vega, the cartel's chief enforcer. His presence confirms this isn't just about sending a message to local ranchers. They're planning something bigger. The convoy stops twice. Once for what? Sounds like a checkpoint. Their own men from the casual exchanges. The second time is longer, heavier vehicles moving past. Emma catches the distinctive rumble of transport trucks. A lot of them. This isn't just a drug operation. This is logistics on a military scale. After 45 minutes, they reach their destination. The SUV descends what feels like a ramp, underground parking structure from the acoustics. Multiple vehicles echo off concrete walls, suggesting a large space. Emma is pulled from the vehicle, guided through 2 sets of security doors, down a corridor that smells of fresh paint and gun oil. The hood is removed in a concrete room. Emma blinks against the light, playing up her disorientation while scanning her surroundings. 1 door, reinforced steel, 2 cameras in opposite corners, ventilation duct too small for escape. 3 guards, plus Rojas and Vega. "Welcome to Casa de Muerte," Vega says, his voice like gravel. "I hope you'll enjoy your stay." He turns to Rojas. "El Jefe wants her presentable for questioning. No permanent damage." "Such a waste," Rojas replies. "We could make her talk, make her family cooperate." "She's not here to talk." Vega studies Emma with cold eyes. "She's here to break, to show every rancher in Paradise Valley what happens when they don't play by our rules." Emma meets his gaze, letting him see fear mixed with defiance. Just another brave but outmatched victim. Inside, she's already planning. The compound is bigger than expected, better equipped. This isn't just about local drug running. Something else is happening here, something worth all this security and infrastructure. "Get some rest, Miss Blackwood." Vega steps toward the door. "Tomorrow you'll meet El Jefe himself. I'm sure you'll have plenty to discuss." The door slams shut, locks engaging. Emma slumps against the wall, maintaining her act for the cameras. Let them think she's defeated. Let them think their plan is working. They don't realize they've just given their deadliest enemy a guided tour of their secret compound. In the control room, Vega watches the monitor showing Emma's cell. "She's too calm," he tells Rojas. "Even the tough ones show more fear by now." "She'll break like all the others," Rojas replies, but there's a hint of uncertainty in his voice. Emma allows herself the faintest smile, knowing the cameras won't catch it in the shadows. By this time tomorrow, the hunters will learn what it means to become prey. In the darkness, things are proceeding exactly as she planned. The compound's night shift makes their rounds, footsteps echoing through concrete corridors. In her cell, Emma hasn't slept, though the cameras would show otherwise. She spent the night cataloging guard rotations, counting footsteps, mapping the facility through its sounds. 3 shift changes, consistent patrols every 12 minutes, heavier activity in the east wing where the transport trucks are. Through the walls, she hears Rojas and Vega arguing in the corridor. "El Jefe is being too cautious," Rojas snaps. "We should be pressing her harder." "And risk damaging her before the exchange," Vega counters. "The buyer wants proof our control is absolute. She needs to be intact." Emma files away that detail. They're not just trying to break her, they're planning to use her as proof of something. The transport trucks, the compound's infrastructure, the timing, pieces of a puzzle start clicking into place. A new voice joins the argument. Someone Emma hasn't heard before, older, authoritative, with a Montana accent that sounds out of place. "Your containment better be solid," the voice warns. "My deputies can't keep the search parties away much longer without raising suspicion." "Sheriff Hayes," Rojas's voice drips with fake respect, "your concerns are noted, but perhaps if you focused on your end of the operation." The local sheriff. Emma mentally adds another player to the board. The corruption runs deeper than anyone suspected. Footsteps approach her cell. Emma maintains her pose of defeated contemplation as the door opens. A guard enters with food, better quality than expected. They're still trying to play good cop, bad cop. "Dinner time, ranch girl," the guard sneers, but his eyes keep darting to the corridor. Something has him nervous. Emma sits up slowly, making sure to telegraph every movement. "Any chance of a shower?" she asks. "Your boss wants to maintain civilization, right?" The guard hesitates. Not part of his orders, but he's been watching her for hours, seen nothing but compliance. "I'll check." The door closes, and Emma allows herself a faint smile. First thread pulled. In an organization this size, bureaucracy is as much a weapon as any gun. Through the walls, she hears trucks being unloaded, workers talking more freely. Now, getting careless as fatigue sets in. Snippets of conversation paint a picture. Military hardware being prepped for distribution. Names of buyers. Locations. A new argument erupts somewhere above. "The merchandise from Warehouse 2 is missing." Vega's voice angry. "5 crates of assault rifles don't just disappear. My men wouldn't dare." Rojas responds, but there's uncertainty in his voice. "Tell that to El Jefe." Emma notes the location. Warehouse 2. The missing weapons are fiction. A seed of doubt she planted during dinner when she mentioned offhandedly to her guard about seeing men loading trucks near there. Amazing what people will remember hearing when accusations start flying. The guard returns. "You get 10 minutes. Any trouble, and Vega gets to practice his skills early." Emma lets him see fear at Vega's name. The walk to the showers gives her everything she needs: patrol patterns, security camera blind spots, guard positions. The showers themselves are basic but telling. Gun oil and cordite in the drains. They're using this area to clean weapons, probably from the shipments. 8 minutes, the guard calls out. Emma takes 7, maintaining the image of compliance. Every step back to her cell adds to her mental map. 2 guards on the weapons cache, card reader on the door, 3 patrols crossing paths in predictable patterns, cameras with overlapping coverage, except for a 2-meter gap near the southeast corner. More voices drift through the vents as she's locked back in. Sheriff Hayes again arguing about timetables. 3 days isn't enough time to clear all the checkpoints. Search parties are running extra patrols because of the Blackwood girl's disappearance. "That's your problem," Vega responds. "The buyers won't wait. You want your payment, make it happen." Emma closes her eyes, piecing it together. The weapons, the corrupt officials, the tight timeline. They're planning something big, not just smuggling, but a coordinated operation requiring law enforcement blind spots and local police cooperation. A commotion erupts from Warehouse 2. Someone found more missing inventory. Emma listens as Rojas and Vega's argument escalates. Organization like this relies on trust and fear in equal measure. Take away one, the other becomes poison. "El Jefe wants to see you both now," a guard's voice, nervous about delivering bad news to his superiors. Emma waits until the footsteps fade, then begins her preparations. The guard outside her door is distracted by the drama unfolding in the warehouse. The security cameras show her sleeping. No one notices that the tiny piece of wire she pulled from the shower drain is now hidden beneath her mattress. In his office, Cruz watches the security feeds. "She's too quiet," he muses. "Most of them break by now, or at least try something." "Want me to motivate her?" Vega asks. "No. Watch her. Something's not right." If they were better trained, they might notice how Emma's breathing doesn't match true sleep, how her position gives her optimal coverage of the door while appearing vulnerable, how every movement, every response, every word has been calculated to create exactly the situation now unfolding. But they're not trained to hunt ghosts. They're about to learn why that's a fatal mistake. Dawn brings chaos to Casa de Muerte as Emma listens through her cell wall. Rojas and Vega's teams nearly come to blows over the weapon inventory discrepancies. The missing crates have multiplied in the telling. Now there's talk of whole shipments being skimmed. "This is your area," Rojas shouts. "Your men had access." "My men are loyal," Vega snarls back, "unlike some who spend more time counting their money than watching their posts." Emma allows herself a small smile in the darkness. Amazing how a few whispered comments to the right guards can cascade into organizational paralysis, her MARSOC training in psychological warfare proving invaluable. The door slams open. Vega stands there, eyes blazing. "Get up, El Jefe wants to talk." This time, they take her a different route, past Warehouse 2, where workers conduct a frantic inventory. Emma catches glimpses through the doors, crates of M4 carbines, Barrett, 50 cal sniper rifles, even Javelin missile systems. Not cartel weapons, these are military grade, fresh from the factory. The kind of hardware that requires serious connections to acquire. Cruz's office feels different today. The civilized veneer has cracked, replaced by barely contained fury. "Perhaps I was too hospitable yesterday," he says, as guards force Emma into a chair. "Things have gone missing. Expensive things, and suddenly my men are at each other's throats with accusations." "Sounds like a management problem," Emma replies, letting exhaustion color her voice. The slap is expected, but still stings. "No. More games. You will tell me about your family's contacts with law enforcement, every patrol route, every security measure." Emma reads between the lines. They're not just intimidating ranchers anymore. They're planning something that requires detailed knowledge of local security. Why? So you can move your weapons through blind spots. Cruz freezes. It's just for a moment, but Emma sees it. She wasn't supposed to know about the weapons. "The guard who took her to the showers will probably be dead before nightfall." "Interesting theory," Cruz nods to Vega. "Show her why cooperation is preferable to speculation." What follows is 30 minutes of expertly applied pain. Emma's been through worse in MARSOC training, but she makes sure they see what they expect. Resistance crumbling under pressure. When she finally gasps out information about ranch security, it's carefully selected. True enough to be verifiable, useless enough to be safe. "The northern pastures," she pants. "Budget cuts forced us to reduce patrols. See, civilization prevails." Cruz hands her a bottle of water. "Now about your family's security measures." A commotion outside interrupts them. Through the window, Emma spots 3 black SUVs arriving. The occupants move with military precision. Private contractors, probably ex-special forces from their bearing. The buyers Vega mentioned. "Put her back in her cell," Cruz orders. "We'll continue this later." The guards drag her past a conference room where Sheriff Hayes argues with someone on the phone. "I don't care what the feds say," he hisses. "Keep the search teams in the southern sectors. By the time they figure it out, it'll be too late." Back in her cell, Emma catalogues her injuries. Nothing serious. They're still being careful not to leave permanent damage. More importantly, she's confirmed her theory. The cartel isn't just running guns. They're preparing a massive, coordinated operation, using corrupt officials to keep law enforcement away from their target areas. Through the vents, she catches fragments of the buyer meeting, multiple languages. Russian, Arabic, something that sounds Eastern European. Numbers being discussed, quantities, prices, delivery schedules. This isn't a normal arms deal. This is military-grade hardware being sold to multiple international buyers simultaneously. A guard brings lunch, a new one trying to prove himself. Emma notes how he keeps his keycard in his left breast pocket, how his weapon holster is slightly loose, sloppy. They're all getting sloppy as paranoia spreads through the compound. "Heard about the missing weapons?" she says casually. "Shame. Bet someone high up is skimming, someone with access to the inventory logs." The guard shifts uncomfortably. "Shut up. Just saying. Who checks the checkers, right?" She watches the idea take root behind his eyes. By morning, there will be new whispers, new suspicions. Trust is like wet paper. Once it starts tearing, it's impossible to stop. Night falls over Casa de Muerte, bringing the sound of more arguments. The missing weapons, the upcoming operation, the increased law enforcement presence. Pressure builds from all sides. In the darkness, Emma begins working on the wire from the shower drain. The cameras show her sleeping, but her fingers never stop moving. Somewhere above, Cruz reviews security footage. "She gave up the patrol information too easily," he tells Vega. "Want me to push harder tomorrow?" "No, something's not right. Check everything she told us, every detail." But it's too late. The information is already spreading. Guards switching posts to cover for friends. Security patterns shifting as suspicion breeds changes in routine. The fortress is becoming porous, developing gaps that only Emma can see. Through her wall, she hears two guards discussing the buyers. 3 days until the exchange. 3 days before whatever operation they're planning kicks off. 3 days to tear this organization apart from the inside. Emma closes her eyes, but her mind never stops moving. Tomorrow they'll push harder for information. Tomorrow they'll start making mistakes. Tomorrow the real hunt begins. In the command center, Vega stares at the security monitors. Something about their prisoner nags at him, the way she watches everything, the way problems started the moment she arrived. For the first time in years, he feels something he thought he'd forgotten: fear. The compound awakens to missing weapons and missing men. 3 of Rojas's guards disappeared during the night shift, along with 2 crates of javelins. Vega's team finds their vehicles abandoned 20 miles south, but no trace of the men or weapons. The seeds of doubt blooming into full-grown paranoia. "Your people were on watch," Rojas screams at Vega in the corridor outside Emma's cell. "This is on you." "My people." Vega's voice is deadly quiet. "The inventory system shows your access. Code at the warehouse door last night." "That's impossible. I was in my quarters." "Someone's tampering with the logs." Emma lets a small smile play across her face. Amazing what you can accomplish with a stolen key card and carefully observed patrol patterns. The missing men will turn up eventually, tied up in an abandoned ranch house. The weapons are hidden where no one will think to look, right back in Warehouse 2, miscounted in the chaos of multiple inventories. The door opens, and 2 guards enter more roughly than usual. The night's events have everyone on edge. "Rise and shine, princess," one sneers. Time for more civilized conversation. Emma notices their uniforms are slightly different. Rojas's team, not Vega's usual men. The power struggle is affecting even prisoner handling. Perfect. They march her past the conference room where Cruz is trying to calm the international buyers. Through the door, she catches fragments of angry conversations in multiple languages. "Security is compromised," someone says in Russian-accented English. First, the missing weapons, now missing men. This is amateur hour. The operation proceeds as planned, Cruz responds firmly. Sheriff Hayes confirmed the checkpoints will be clear. Emma memorizes names as they're mentioned. 3 more law enforcement officials, 2 state politicians, a federal task force. Leader. All compromised, all helping to clear the way for whatever's coming. They take her to an interrogation room instead of Cruz's office. The civilized facade is cracking. Vega waits inside with a laptop showing surveillance photos of local ranches. These patrol routes you gave us, he points to the screen, they're wrong. I told you what I know, Emma responds, letting fear creep into her voice. Security changes weekly. Maybe the information is old. Or maybe you're playing us. Vega nods to the guards. Show her what happens to people who lie to us. What follows is more intense than yesterday's session, but still carefully controlled. They need her presentable for something. Emma plays the part. Resistance, then carefully measured cooperation. Each piece of information she gives up is another calculated move in her larger game. A commotion erupts outside. One of the Russian buyers is shouting about finding tracking devices in their vehicles. Paranoia spreads instantly. If their vehicles are compromised, what else is? This is your doing somehow, Vega says quietly. I don't know how. But you're behind this. I've been in this room with you, Emma responds innocently, unless you think I can walk through walls. But she sees the doubt in his eyes. The missing weapons, the vanished men, the tracking devices. She never actually planted. Everything started going wrong when she arrived. The compound's own security measures are becoming its weakness as everyone suspects everyone else. Back in her cell, Emma listens to the chaos unfolding. Rojas's team is doing a complete security sweep, disrupting normal operations. Vega's men are watching Rojas's men, convinced they're using the sweep to cover up theft. The buyers are demanding additional guarantees, threatening to pull out of the deal. Through her vent, she hears Cruz on the phone. Everything is under control. Yes, the shipments are secure. No, law enforcement has no idea about the Paradise Valley operation. Emma's ears prick up at that. Paradise Valley, her home. Whatever they're planning, it's focused there. The weapons, the corrupt officials, the carefully coordinated blind spots, all pointing to something big. A guard brings her dinner, one of Rojas's men, nervous and trigger-happy. She notices blood on his knuckles. There was a fight in the barracks, Rojas's men against Vega's. Discipline is breaking down at every level. Heard about the tracking devices? She asks casually. Scary stuff. Makes you wonder what else might be compromised. She watches the idea take root. By morning, half the compound will be searching for surveillance equipment that doesn't exist, tearing apart vehicles and equipment, disrupting operations even further. Night falls, bringing the sound of more arguments. The buyers are demanding to move up the timetable. Sheriff Hayes is worried about maintaining the patrol diversions. Rojas and Vega are one wrong word away from open warfare. In the darkness, Emma begins her final preparations. The wire from the shower drain has become a lockpick. Her careful observation of guard patterns has revealed every gap in security. Most importantly, the psychological groundwork has been laid. The compound is a powder keg waiting for a spark. Tomorrow she'll give them that spark. Tomorrow the hunters become the hunted. In his office, Cruz stares at the security feeds. Something about their prisoner nags at him. The way everything started falling apart the moment she arrived. almost like his eyes widen as realization hits, but by then it will be too late. Midnight at Casa de Muerte, and the compound's night shift stretches thin. Too many men assigned to watch for phantom intruders, too many posts to cover with. Teams divided by suspicion. Emma lies on her cot, counting heartbeats until the guard change. Everything is in position. Time to light the fuse. A muffled explosion rocks the compound, not from the weapons cache. That would be too obvious. Instead, one of the buyer's vehicles erupts in flames, strategically parked near the fuel depot. "We're under attack!" someone yells in Spanish. "The feds found us." Emma allows herself a small smile. Amazing what you can accomplish with cleaning supplies and a makeshift timer stolen during her shower visit. The compound dissolves into chaos as Rojas and Vega's men respond to the threat, each convinced the other team must be responsible. Through her vent, she hears Cruz shouting orders. "Secure the weapons! Get the buyers to the safe room! Find out how they found us!" But there is no they. There's only confusion, paranoia, and a carefully orchestrated series of distractions. In the chaos, no one notices Emma's cell door opening. The lockpick fashioned from shower drain wire did its job. The guards are too busy responding to the explosion to check monitors. She moves like a shadow through the compound, everything mapped out from hours of listening and observing. 3 minutes to reach the security center. The guard inside is alone. Standard procedure compromised by the emergency response. "Sir, the cameras in Sector 4 are..." He never finishes the sentence. Emma's strike is precise, surgical. He'll wake up with a headache, unable to remember what happened. The security feeds tell her everything. Rojas's men are securing the warehouse. Vega's team is protecting the buyers. No one's watching the administration wing, where during yesterday's interrogation she spotted something interesting. Shipping manifests revealing the full scope of their operation. Paradise Valley isn't just a target, it's the key to everything. The cartel plans to hit every law enforcement facility simultaneously, using their corrupt officials to ensure delayed responses. But the weapons aren't for the cartel. They're being sold to international buyers who want to establish their own smuggling routes. The entire operation is a power play to reshape the Montana drug corridor. Shouts echo from the courtyard. In the confusion of the explosion, someone spotted suspicious movement near Warehouse 2. Rojas's men open fire, convinced they found intruders. Vega's team returns fire, thinking they're under attack. "Stand down!" Cruz's voice carries over the gunfire. "Everyone stand down!" But it's too late. Trust is shattered. Every accidental movement, every shadow becomes a threat. Emma watches through the security feeds as the compound tears itself apart. A noise behind her. She turns to find Vega in the doorway, eyes widening as he sees her at the controls. "You," he breathes, "all of this. It was you." "Amazing what people do when they stop trusting each other," Emma responds, dropping the helpless rancher's daughter act. Her stance shifts subtly, balanced, ready. Vega is good. His hand moves to his weapon with professional speed, but Emma was trained by better. The fight is short, brutal, and decisive. When it's over, Vega lies unconscious, and Emma has his security credentials. The compound's radio channels are chaos. The buyers are pulling out. Someone's breached the weapons cache. We've got men down in the courtyard. Where's Vega? We need orders. Emma moves quickly, downloads the shipping manifests, places charges at key structural points. Nothing lethal, just enough to add to the confusion. Most importantly, she retrieves a satellite phone from Vega's office, a quick call to a memorized number. Agent Sarah Morgan, FBI. Authorization code Delta 7 Tango. I need a priority response team at these coordinates. In the security center, she watches Cruz reviewing footage from her cell. Finally understanding, his face transforms as he realizes exactly what kind of operator they brought into their fortress. The buyers are already fleeing their vehicles, racing into the Montana night. Rojas's men have barricaded themselves in Warehouse 2, convinced Vega's team is trying to kill them. The corrupt officials are calling frantically, realizing their carefully planned operation is collapsing. Emma allows herself a moment of satisfaction before moving to the next phase. The compound is eating itself alive, but her real work is just beginning. The shipping manifests reveal an operation bigger than anyone suspected. Connections to terrorist cells, human trafficking rings, international arms dealers. This isn't just about drugs anymore. It's about dismantling a network that threatens national security. Through the corridors, gunfire and shouts echo as former allies turn on each other. Emma moves like a shadow, eliminating key targets with surgical precision. Each unconscious guard, each disabled camera, each locked security door adds to the confusion. In the command center, Cruz stares at security feeds, showing his empire crumbling. "Find her," he orders into his radio. "Whatever it takes. Whatever." "She is. Find her." But he's too late. The hunter has become the hunted, and the night is just beginning. "Fire in Warehouse 3!" Someone shouts over the radio. The blaze isn't real, just smoke grenades and emergency lights creating the illusion. But in their paranoid state, Rojas's men are convinced Vega's team is trying to destroy evidence. Emma systematically works her way through the compound using their own defensive layout against them. Bottlenecks designed to trap intruders become perfect ambush points for their defenders. The expensive security system, now compromised, locks down random sections, trapping groups of hostiles in their own fortress. Through the radio, she hears Cruz organizing a response team. 20 men, heavily armed, sweeping the compound systematically. Professional, disciplined, dangerous. Too bad they're searching the wrong sections. "Sheriff Hayes," Cruz barks into his satellite phone, "I need those search teams kept away for at least 2 more hours." "It's not that simple anymore," Hayes responds, panic evident in his voice. "The FBI's involved. I can't control—" "You'll control it, or your involvement becomes public knowledge." Cruz ends the call, turns to find his office door locked, security systems engaging randomly throughout the compound, turning his fortress into a maze. Emma moves to her next target, Rojas's command post near the motor pool. He's good, posting. Guards in overlapping fields of fire, maintaining radio discipline. But he's thinking like a cartel soldier, expecting frontal assault. The ventilation shaft above his position drops Emma silently behind the guard line. 5 men disabled before they realize they're under attack. Rojas manages to raise his weapon before a precise strike puts him down. The guards at the motor pool, hearing the commotion, fire blindly at shadows. "Status report," Cruz demands over the radio. "Someone find Vega!" But Vega is busy being unconscious, and Rojas's remaining men are engaged in a firefight with their own people, confused by smoke and emergency lighting. The weapons they're fighting with are from their own stockpile. Emma made sure of that. When she redistributed stolen inventory during the initial chaos, an explosion rocks the compound's east wing, one of Emma's charges timed perfectly. not meant to kill, just to drive defenders away from key positions. The response is immediate and predictable. Guards rushing to protect valuable merchandise. "The feds," a voice calls out. "They're surrounding the compound." Emma allows herself a grim smile as she downloads data from Rojas's terminal. Let them worry about federal response. The FBI tactical team she contacted is already approaching from the north, but they're not her concern. She has other targets. The compound security office yields more intelligence, shipping manifests, contact lists, banking records, everything needed to dismantle not just this operation, but the entire corruption network. Names of officials, dates of shipments, amounts of payoffs. Sheriff Hayes isn't the only one who will face justice. Movement in the corridor, 3 of Vega's men moving tactically. Emma recognizes their training, ex-military, probably Mexican special forces. They clear corners professionally, maintain proper spacing. It almost saves them. The fight is brief, efficient. Emma uses their own formation against them, attacking when they're most vulnerable. No killing blows. Dead men can't testify later, just precise strikes to disable. "Demonio!" One manages to gasp in Spanish before consciousness fades. She's not human. The radio crackles with increasing panic. Motor pool is down. Lost contact with Rojas's team. Someone's in the system shutting down sectors. "Where's Vega? We need orders." Emma checks her watch. The FBI team will breach the perimeter in 15 minutes. She needs to finish her task before they arrive. Certain things are better handled quietly. Through the cameras, she spots Cruz, heading for his private escape route, finally abandoning his crumbling empire. 2 guards, professional mercenaries from their movements, the kind of men who'd be serious threats to a normal opponent. "Sir," one guard reports, "Rojas is down. The buyers have fled. We're losing control of the compound." "Find the woman," Cruz snarls. "She has to be stopped." The lights go out. Emergency power kicks in, bathing the corridors in red warning lights. In the confusion, no one notices another shadow joining the darkness. "Looking for me?" Emma's voice seems to come from everywhere at once. The guards react instantly, weapons up, moving to protect their principal. Their training shows in every movement, every reaction, but they've never trained against someone like her. Cruz backs away, true fear showing for the first time. "What are you?" Emma steps into the red emergency lighting. "I'm the ghost you should have left alone." The battle for Casa de Muerte enters its final phase, but for some the real nightmare is just beginning. Red emergency lights cast shifting shadows through Casa de Muerte's corridors as Emma faces down Cruz's guards. Their weapons track her movement with professional precision. Ex-Israeli special forces from their stance, probably Mossad trained. Private contractors who've worked the world's deadliest conflict zones. "Stand down," one orders in accented English. "Final warning." Emma's response is movement, not the wild attacks they're expecting, but the methodical violence taught in advanced close-quarters combat courses. The first guard's weapon is stripped away before he can fire, his own momentum used against him. The second manages to get off a shot that echoes through the corridor before a precise strike drops him. "You're not just some rancher's daughter." Cruz backs away, final understanding dawning. "What are you?" "She's a ghost," Rojas's voice carries from the shadows where he's dragged himself back to consciousness, blood staining his tactical vest. "We checked her background, military service record, but something was off. 15 years unaccounted for. Special operations rumors. We should have dug deeper." The compound's radio channels erupt with new chaos. Federal vehicles approaching from the north, multiple helicopters inbound. But Hayes is already gone, abandoning his posts as the operation collapses. Emma's data dump to the FBI included enough evidence to ensure he won't get far. Gunfire erupts from Warehouse 2, Vega's remaining men making a final push to secure the weapons. The sound of helicopters grows louder as federal tactical teams approach. Emma's timetable just got shorter. "Kill her," Cruz orders. "Whatever it takes." Rojas's remaining loyal men open fire, but Emma's already moving. The corridor's architecture works to her advantage, angles and cover points she memorized during her captivity. 2 more guards go down to precise shots, non-lethal wounds, but debilitating. "She's hunting us," one of Rojas's men realizes, voice shaking. "All this time, we thought we were the predators." Through the security feeds, Emma spots multiple vehicles fleeing the compound, corrupt officials and cartel soldiers abandoning their posts, taking what they can carry. The carefully constructed hierarchy of fear and loyalty collapsing under pressure. "The weapon shipments!" Cruz shouts. "We have to secure—" "Your shipments are already compromised." Emma cuts him off. "Those weren't random buyers who pulled out. They were federal informants. Every weapon is tagged, every route monitored. Your empire's done." More gunfire from the warehouse level. The FBI teams have breached the perimeter, coordinating with state tactical units. Professional, methodical. "Room clearing. No escape that way." "Stand down!" Cruz's command carries no authority now. The illusion of control shattered like everything else in his crumbling kingdom. "This is your last chance." Rojas breaks first, turning his weapon toward Cruz. "You said this was bulletproof. Said we had every angle covered." "Stand down!" Cruz's voice cracks with desperation. The empire he built through violence and corruption collapsing around him. His remaining men hesitate, finally accepting the inevitable. Emma uses their distraction, closing distance with practiced efficiency. Rojas manages to fire twice before her strike puts him down. His remaining men surrender, finally accepting the inevitable. "You have no idea what you've done," Cruz backs, toward his private escape route. "The people I work for, the organizations involved. I know exactly who you work for." Emma advances methodically. "Every contact, every account, every connection. By morning, federal agents will be executing. Warrants across 3 states. Your entire network burns." The compound shakes as breaching charges detonate on multiple levels. Federal teams moving with coordinated precision. Through the radio, Emma hears the operation commander. "All units be advised, friendly operator on site. Former MARSOC operator, Emma Blackwood, call sign Echo 5, recognition signal Montana sky." Recognition flashes in Cruz's eyes. "Echo 5. The ghost unit. You're one of them. You should have checked those missing years more carefully." Emma moves like liquid. "Shadow. Should have asked why some operators' records just disappear." More explosions rock the compound as federal teams breach the weapon storage areas. Cruz glances toward his escape route, calculating odds, realizing too late that every path was cut off before he knew he needed one. "The Chinese," he tries one last gambit. "The Russians. They'll never let you expose—" "Your Russian buyers are already in custody," Emma cuts him off, "along with their weapons and their intelligence. This wasn't just about your operation, it was about everyone involved." Helicopter spotlights illuminate the compound as federal teams secure the perimeter. In Warehouse 2, the pockets of resistance surrender to overwhelming force. The empire cruise built through violence and corruption collapses in less than 4 hours. You're right about one thing, Emma tells him, as federal agents approach their position. I am a ghost, the kind that hunts people like you, the kind you should have left alone. The red emergency lights fade as main power returns. In their harsh, fluorescent glare, Cruz finally sees his situation clearly. His fortress has become a trap. His soldiers have become prisoners, and the prey he thought he caught has revealed itself to be something far more dangerous. The night belongs to the ghost who haunts predators like him, the hunter who became hunted, the shadow that brings monsters into the light. Dawn breaks over Casa de Muerte as federal agents secure the last sections of the compound. Emma watches, Cruz being led away in handcuffs, his empire reduced to evidence tags and incident reports. But the look he gives her carries a warning. This isn't over. Quite an operation. Agent Sarah Morgan approaches, FBI tactical vest still dusty from the breach, though I'm curious how one rancher's daughter managed to dismantle the largest cartel stronghold we've seen in Montana. I got lucky, Emma replies, maintaining her cover even now, but Morgan's expression says she knows better. Lucky doesn't account for military-grade tactical planning. Lucky doesn't explain how you turned their entire security force against itself. She hands Emma a secure phone. Your old commander wants to talk. Emma takes the phone, moves away from prying ears. The voice on the other end is familiar, authoritative. Echo 5. Confirm status. Package secured. Secondary targets identified. Collateral damage minimal, mostly self-inflicted when they started shooting each other. A pause. The weapon shipments were tagged. All of them. Your intel about the international buyers was solid. Their entire network's compromised. Good work, but this isn't over. The Víbora cartel was just one piece of a larger operation. Your actions tonight have stirred up a hornet's nest. Emma watches federal agents cataloging evidence, securing prisoners. That was the plan. Inside the compound, the scale of the operation becomes clear. The weapons cache isn't just military grade. It's state-sponsored level hardware, the kind of shipment that requires government-level cooperation to acquire. Agent Blackwood, an FBI tactical team leader, approaches. We found something you should see. In Cruz's office, computer technicians are recovering deleted files. The corruption runs deeper than anyone suspected. Judges, politicians, military officials, all compromised, all part of a network spanning multiple countries. Sheriff Hayes was just the surface. Emma's phone interrupts with breaking news across 3 states. Coordinated raids hitting locations from her intelligence dump. Corrupt officials arrested, evidence seized, a criminal empire crumbling in real time. But Emma's attention is on the secure feeds showing other cartel compounds across Montana. They're mobilizing, responding to the threat. The Víbora wasn't just powerful, they were stable. Their destruction creates a power vacuum that others will rush to fill. We've got movement at 3 known cartel locations, Morgan reports. They're calling emergency meetings, moving assets. Good. Emma checks her weapon. Let them run. Every move they make exposes more of their network. The dominoes are falling exactly as planned. Multiple vehicles leaving known cartel locations, tactical surveillance reporting houses being burned. Fear makes people sloppy. Every panicked reaction, every attempted cover-up just adds to the evidence trail. The hunters are becoming the hunted. In the detention center, Cruz watches the morning news with growing rage. Everything he built, every careful alliance and bought official crumbling because they underestimated one woman. "You still don't understand," he tells the federal agents processing him. "What happened here? What she started? This is just the beginning." He's right, though not in the way he thinks. The ghost he tried to capture has been unleashed, and now other predators will learn why some hunters are best left alone. Emma walks through the compound one last time, memorizing details for her report. Evidence teams catalog weapons, document security systems, download data, but she's focused on the bigger picture, the connections revealed, the patterns exposed. "We've got 5 more officials turning themselves in," Morgan updates her. "They're all talking, trying to cut deals. Let them talk." Emma checks her secure phone. More messages from her old command. "The ones who run will lead us to bigger targets." Dawn fully breaks over Paradise Valley as Emma Blackwood leaves Casa de Muerte behind. Federal agents dismantle a criminal empire, but ahead, other cartels scramble to protect themselves from the ghost that hunts in daylight. The compound falls silent, its corridors empty except for federal teams. But across Montana, in hidden compounds and secret meetings, cartel leaders speak in whispers about the predator they woke, about the hunter that turns shadows into weapons, about the ghost that brings death in morning light. The war isn't over. It's just moving to a larger battlefield. The Tactical Operations Center in Bozeman hums with activity as Emma studies surveillance feeds showing cartel compounds across Montana. 48 hours after Casa de Muerte's fall, the criminal underworld is in chaos. 3 more corrupt officials found dead in apparent suicides. 2 judges suddenly leaving the country, fear spreading like wildfire. Another weapons cache found in Billings, Sarah Morgan reports, dropping a file on her desk. Tagged hardware matching Cruz's shipments. "They're burning everything they can't move fast enough," Emma notes the location, adding it to her map. The pattern is clear. A network of staging points all leading back to Paradise Valley. They're not just burning evidence, they're creating diversions, trying to hide their real movements. Through the center's windows, media vans crowd the parking lot. The story is too big to contain now. Major cartel operation disrupted, corruption exposed at highest levels. Every hour brings new revelations as Cruz's captured lieutenants compete for deals. 4 more ranch hands suspended pending investigation. Commander Pierce looks aged by recent events. How deep does this go? "Deeper than anyone suspected," Emma responds, studying financial records recovered from Casa de Muerte. The weapons were just the visible part. Look at these shipping manifests. They were building infrastructure for something bigger. Her secure phone buzzes. Another update from her old command. More pieces falling into place. The Víbora wasn't just a cartel. They were a pipeline for multiple organizations. Their destruction has exposed operations across 2 continents. Surveillance picked up major movement at the Sapphire compounds. Morgan points to thermal imaging feeds. They're mobilizing, probably trying to claim Cruz's territory before others move in. Let them fight over scraps. Emma's attention is on a different pattern. Watch the money. 3 banks in Switzerland just handled major transfers. Someone's positioning resources. The radio crackles with field reports. 2 more corrupt officials caught trying to cross into Canada. A judge's clerk discovered shredding documents. Each arrest leads to more names, more connections, the network unraveling from 1,000 cuts. Agent Blackwood, Lisa Chen enters, looking troubled. There's something you need to see in interrogation. One of Cruz's captured lieutenants sits trembling, not from fear of prosecution, from fear of something worse. They're coming, he whispers. The ones Cruz really worked for, the ones who supplied the weapons. Who are they? Ask your old commanders, he responds, eyes knowing. Ask them about Operation Nighthawk. Emma keeps her expression neutral, but inside her mind races. Nighthawk was classified, buried under layers of deniability, a mission that officially never happened. How does a cartel lieutenant know that name? Back in the operations center, new reports flood in. Cartel safe houses being abandoned across 3 states, criminal enterprises suddenly going dark like rats fleeing a sinking ship. But Emma sees the real pattern. They're not running from law enforcement, they're running from something else. 2 more bodies found in Great Falls, Morgan updates. Former state troopers who worked border security, professional hits. Someone's cleaning house. Emma studies traffic camera footage showing vehicles leaving known cartel locations. The drivers' movements are too precise, too tactical, not cartel soldiers, but professional operators. They're burning their networks, cutting ties to whatever they were really planning. Her phone buzzes again, this time a message from an unknown number. Coordinates for a location deep in the Sapphire Mountains, followed by a single word. Remember. In his federal holding cell, Cruz watches the news with growing satisfaction. Tell Agent Blackwood, he instructs his lawyer, the real hunters are coming. Emma gear checks her equipment with practiced precision. Whatever's coming, she'll be ready. Casa de Muerte may be destroyed, but the real war is just beginning. Somewhere out there, hidden players are moving pieces on a larger board. Multiple vehicles spotted heading toward Missoula, surveillance reports. Thermal signatures suggest heavy weapons. Good. Emma checks her weapon. Let them come. Every move they make reveals more of their network. Dawn approaches as she heads for her vehicle. The media crews track her movement, hungry for the story of the rancher's daughter who brought down a cartel empire. They don't realize they're watching a ghost hunt in broad daylight, because that's what ghosts do best. They haunt the guilty until all sins come to light. And Emma Blackwood has only begun to hunt. Dust kicks up behind her truck as she approaches the coordinates from the mysterious message. The location is a seemingly abandoned ranch 30 miles south of Paradise Valley, far from regular patrol routes. Her tactical instincts scream ambush, but sometimes the only way to flush out prey is to walk into their trap. Movement at your 2 o'clock, Morgan's voice crackles through her earpiece. She's providing overwatch from a concealed position, proof that the FBI agent has more tactical training than she admits. 3 men, professional positioning. Emma parks deliberately in the open, making herself a clear target. The hit teams that have been cleaning up loose ends across Montana are too professional to take such obvious bait. They'll wait, watch, try to figure out her game. That hesitation is all she needs. Agent Blackwood. The voice comes from the ranch house, male American military bearing in his stance. We need to discuss Operation Nighthawk. Funny, Emma responds, staying near her vehicle. I was about to say the same thing, like how a cartel lieutenant knew about a classified mission. Some secrets don't stay buried. The man steps into view. Tall, weathered face, the kind of eyes that have seen too much combat. Through her peripheral vision, Emma spots 2 more figures moving to flanking positions, not trying to be stealthy. They want her to see them, showing force while maintaining distance, professional. The hardware we found at Casa de Muerte, she probes. That wasn't just cartel supply. Those were military shipments that went missing during Nighthawk. Smart girl. The man's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Now you're asking the right questions, like who really supplied Cruz's operation and why certain people are very interested in keeping that quiet. Emma's phone buzzes, a message from Lisa Chen back at the operations center. More files recovered from Cruz's servers showing wire transfers from military contractors, the kind of companies that operate in shadows and deniability. The weapons were never destroyed. Emma pieces it together. Nighthawk was a cover to move them into private hands, into a pipeline you controlled, until we disrupted everything. The man's tone hardens. Do you have any idea what you've done? The operations you've compromised, the people you've exposed. More movement in her peripheral vision, the hit teams getting closer, more aggressive in their positioning. They're done talking. Stand down, Morgan's voice warns in her earpiece. Multiple hostiles moving to firing positions. But Emma sees the real threat, a glint of metal from the barn roof. Sniper using the others as distraction. These aren't cartel thugs. These are trained operators executing a prepared ambush. The first shot kicks up dust at her feet, a warning. The man's expression says he expects her to panic, to make mistakes. He's about to learn why that's a fatal assumption. Last chance, he offers. Walk away, forget what you've learned. There are some mysteries better left unsolved. Emma's response is movement. Not the desperate scramble they expect, but the fluid precision of someone who trains for exactly these scenarios. The sniper's second shot hits empty air as she rolls behind cover. What follows is a deadly dance of professionals. The hit team moves with coordinated precision, trying to hem her in. But Emma's been hunting ghosts longer than they have. Each move is calculated, each position chosen to split their team, deny their advantages. Targets moving to the barn, one team member reports. Charlie team, cut her. The rest is lost as Emma's first counterattack hits, not targeting them directly, but attacking their coordination, their communication, their tactical advantage. Just like at Casa de Muerte, turning their own operation against them. 3 more vehicles approaching from the south, Morgan warns. Looks like our friends brought backup. Good. Emma's voice is cold as she lines up her shot. More evidence to collect. The firefight that follows is brief but intense. These men are good, probably ex-military from their tactics. But Emma is better. Each move calculated, each shot precise. No killing blows. Dead men can't answer questions, just careful incapacitation, one target at a time. The man from the ranch house proves the most dangerous. His movement speaking of special operations training, probably Delta or SEAL from his tactics. But he makes one crucial mistake. He expects her to fight like military. Instead, she fights like a ghost. When it's over, Emma stands over his unconscious form, collecting weapons and intel. Morgan, we're going to need a cleanup team and someone from military intelligence. Already on the way. A pause. That was impressive. Reminded me of something I saw in Afghanistan. A team that moved like shadows, left no traces. Everyone's got a past. Emma checks her phone. More messages from Lisa Chen. The evidence from Casa de Muerte keeps building, pointing to something bigger than anyone suspected. The man stirs, focusing on her with newfound recognition. You're one of them. Echo Team. the ones they said didn't exist. Emma zip ties his hands. Today's your lucky day. Instead of dying for someone else's secrets, you get to help expose them. In the distance, sirens approach as federal teams respond to Morgan's call. But Emma's attention is on her phone, showing more coordinates, more pieces of a puzzle that's bigger than cartels and corruption. Someone tried to bury Operation Nighthawk. Now those ghosts are coming back to haunt them. The war isn't over. It's just moving to a higher level. The federal holding facility in Bozeman buzzes with activity as Emma studies the man from the ranch. His identity documents list him as Michael Harrison, private security consultant, but Emma recognizes the calluses on his trigger finger, the way he maintains situational awareness even in custody. This man has spent time in places that don't appear on maps. The weapons pipeline wasn't just about profit, Harrison finally speaks. It was about control, creating unofficial channels that couldn't be traced. Víbora provided cover, distribution, plausible deniability. The real operation went higher. Morgan enters with a file. Got something? Those military contractors Chen traced? They all connect to a company called Blackstone Strategic Services. Emma knows that name from briefings that officially never happened. A private military corporation that specializes in operations governments can't acknowledge. The kind of outfit that makes problems and people disappear. 4 more cartel properties. Hit last night, Chen reports, spreading photos across the table. Professional jobs. No witnesses, no evidence, just like the others. They're not just cleaning house. Emma studies the images. They're following a pattern, each target connected. To the weapon shipments, they're trying to contain the exposure. Harrison watches her with growing respect. You really are one of them. Echo Team, the ghost unit they created for missions that couldn't exist. Focus on what does exist, Emma responds. Like why Blackstone was moving military hardware through cartel territory. Think bigger. Harrison leans forward. Why would someone need untraceable weapons? Why build a pipeline that bypasses official channels? What's coming that they need to prepare for? Emma's phone buzzes. Another update from her old command. Satellite images showing increased activity at multiple Montana sites. Other cartels, moving to fill the power vacuum, but moving too coordinated, too precise, like they're being directed. Commander Pierce wants to see you, Morgan interrupts. Something about pressure from Washington to wrap this up quickly. Of course they want it wrapped up. Harrison's laugh is bitter. Too many powerful people connected to this. Too many careers at stake. The operations center tells its own story. Pierce looks exhausted, aged by recent events. They're shutting us down, he announces without preamble. Orders from above. The official story will be that we disrupted a cartel operation. Nothing more. That's not happening. Emma's voice is steel. We've got evidence of military hardware being diverted, corrupt officials at every level, international buyers, and no way to prove who's really behind it. Pierce cuts her off. Everyone we arrest claims they only knew their small piece. Every document trail ends in shells and shadows. Then we follow the shadows. Emma's phone shows new messages, coordinates for another location, but this time she recognizes the pattern. The targets aren't random. They're forming a net, closing in on something. 2 more federal witnesses found dead. Chen enters with fresh reports. And the evidence from Casa de Muerte, someone tried to access it from inside the building. We've got a mole, Morgan concludes. We've got several, Emma corrects, studying personnel files. Think about it. An operation this big needs people inside every agency, including ours. Harrison watches her connect the dots. Now you're seeing it. Why do you think they sent those hit teams? Not just to clean up evidence, to eliminate anyone who could expose the bigger picture. The operations center erupts with new reports. Multiple cartel factions moving toward Paradise Valley, not fighting each other, moving in coordinated. Patterns like pieces on a chessboard. They're not coming to fight, Emma realizes. They're coming to contain whatever's really happening. Paradise Valley is ground zero. Her phone buzzes one final time. Not coordinates now, just two words that make her blood run cold. Remember Afghanistan, because that's where it all started. Where her unit discovered something they weren't supposed to find. Where Operation Nighthawk first showed its true face. Lock down the building, she orders. Check everyone's credentials, and get me everything we have on Blackstone's operations in the Middle East. The pieces are finally falling into place. The weapons, the corruption, the professional hit teams. All of it pointing to something bigger than cartels and border politics. Someone's been playing a very long game. Time to show them why some ghosts don't stay buried. Paradise Valley's federal building transforms into a fortress as Emma coordinates. Defenses. Surveillance feeds show multiple convoys approaching from different directions, all maintaining communication silence, not typical cartel behavior. These are professionals using criminal groups as cover. It wasn't just another operation, Harrison explains, now actively helping as the situation deteriorates. Your unit stumbled onto something. Weapons that were supposed to be destroyed, being diverted, equipment that officially didn't exist anymore. Like the hardware we found at Casa de Muerte, Emma connects the dots. Same sources, same suppliers, same people pulling the strings. Harrison nods. Blackstone wasn't just a contractor. They were building infrastructure, networks that could move anything anywhere without oversight. Morgan enters with fresh intelligence. 3 more state police units went dark, not responding to radio calls. And I can't reach my FBI contacts anymore. The moles are making their move. Emma studies the tactical display. Isolating us, cutting off support. Standard containment protocol. Chen rushes in, face pale. You need to see this. I was tracking. Financial records from Casa de Muerte, the weapon shipments, the payoffs. It all traces back to accounts connected to military operations in Afghanistan. The same region where my unit disappeared, Emma finishes. The pieces finally clicking together. It wasn't an accident. We saw something we weren't supposed to see, so they tried to bury us. Just like they're trying to bury this. Commander Pierce enters, looking grim. Just got word from Washington. We're ordered to stand down, transfer all evidence to a special task force. A task force that will make everything disappear. Harrison interjects. Same playbook they always use. Create confusion, split up evidence between agencies, bury key details in classification. Not this time. Emma's voice carries absolute authority. Chen, upload everything we have to secure. Servers, Morgan, get our remaining reliable teams in position. Pierce, do what you have to do. The commander pauses. I'll buy you time with Washington. Just tell me one thing. How deep does this really go? All the way, Morgan answers unexpectedly. I should know. I used to work for Blackstone until I saw what they were really doing. Why do you think I've been helping track them? The revelation hangs heavy in the air, but there's no time to process it. New alerts flash across tactical screens, multiple vehicles breaching the town perimeter, communications being jammed, power fluctuations suggesting sophisticated electronic warfare. They're not just coming to contain the evidence, Harrison realizes. They're coming to erase it, and anyone who's seen it. Emma moves with practiced efficiency, checking weapons, positioning teams. This isn't just about defending a building. It's about protecting the truth, about exposing a conspiracy that's claimed too many lives already. Multiple hostiles approaching from the south, surveillance reports. Professional operators using cartel gunmen as cover. Good. Emma checks her rifle. Let them come. Every move they make adds to our evidence trail. Through the windows, darkness falls over Paradise Valley. Streetlights flicker and die as enemy electronic warfare systems attack infrastructure. They're trying to isolate the federal building, cut it off from support. Just like Afghanistan, Emma observes. Same tactics, same playbook. You remember what happened in Afghanistan? Harrison asks quietly. I remember everything, including what they tried to hide. Now I know why they're so desperate to keep this quiet. The weapons, the criminal networks, the corrupt officials, it's all connected. Someone's been building an invisible empire. Her phone buzzes one final time, a message from an encrypted source. Targets inbound. You can't stop what's coming. Emma's response is to check her weapon one final time. Watch me. Now, because that's what ghosts do best. They expose secrets, reveal truths, bring darkness into light. And Emma Blackwood has a lot of dark to expose. The night settles over Paradise Valley like a shroud. In the federal building, a small group of defenders prepares to face an army of shadows. But shadows should be careful what they hunt. Sometimes they hunt back. Night wraps around Paradise Valley's federal building like a shadow as Emma positions her defenders. Thermal imaging shows multiple teams approaching through darkened streets, using power outages as cover. Their movement patterns confirm Harrison's assessment. Ex-military operators leading cartel gunmen. 3 technical vehicles approaching from the ridge, Morgan reports from her observation post. Same setup we used in Kandahar. They're going to hit multiple points simultaneously, try to overwhelm us with volume. Let them come. Emma checks the building's defenses one final time. Everything's in position. The first attack comes as expected. Heavy fire from multiple directions, designed to pin defenders while assault teams breach the perimeter. But Emma's been preparing for this since they arrived. Every approach is covered, every angle calculated. Multiple targets, west entrance, a defender calls out. Hold your fire, Emma orders. Let them commit. The attackers move with professional precision, coordinating their advance through hand signals. But something's wrong. The resistance is too light. The defensive position's too obvious. It's a trap, someone shouts in Spanish, but too late. Emma's carefully placed charges detonate, not to kill, but to confuse and disorient. Pre-positioned flashbangs turn the night into chaos. The attacker's own coordination works against them as rehearsed patterns become deadly predictable. There, falling back, Harrison observes from his position, regrouping for... Multiple explosions rock the building's east side. A second team using the first attack's distraction exactly as Emma expected. But this group moves differently, more aggressive, more desperate. Blackstone Tactical Team, Morgan identifies their movement patterns. They're not here to contain anymore. They're here to eliminate everything. Through the tactical feeds, Emma watches them breach the lower level, Professional, methodical, deadly. But they're fighting the last war using tactics she helped develop. They don't realize every corridor is a trap, every room a potential kill zone. "Chen," Emma calls, over the radio. Status of the uploads. "Almost done, but someone's trying to hack our secure servers. They're good. Hold them off. We just need a few more minutes." Harrison's voice crackles through comms. Multiple vehicles approaching from the north. Different pattern. Government plates. "Someone's called in official backup," Emma responds. "Or someone's using official cover. Watch for..." The building's power cuts out completely. Emergency lights cast red shadows as Boots' steps echo through corridors. The Blackstone team is inside, moving with lethal purpose. "They're heading for the evidence room," Morgan warns. "Good," Emma's voice carries cold satisfaction. "Right where we want them." What follows is a deadly game of cat and mouse through darkened hallways. The Blackstone team is good, probably the best in the business. But Emma's better. She uses their own tactics against them, turning every advantage into a weakness. "Target located!" a Blackstone operator calls out, moving to... The rest is lost as Emma's counterattack begins. Not just her, every defender knows their role, every position covered. The professional attackers find themselves caught in their own kind of trap. "Multiple targets retreating," Harrison reports with something like awe. "Not retreating," Emma corrects. "Regrouping. This was just the first wave." Through her tactical feed, she spots more vehicles approaching. Different movement patterns now. Heavier weapons, serious hardware. They're done playing games. "Commander Pierce," she calls over the radio. "Status?" "Washington's ordered National Guard units to respond, but they're being delayed by administrative issues. We're on our own." "Perfect." Emma checks her ammunition. "Chen, how's that upload?" "Done. Evidence is secure on multiple servers. They can't bury this anymore." A new voice cuts through their communications, cold and professional. "Echo 5, this is your one warning. Stand down. You have no idea what you're interfering with." Emma recognizes the voice. Colonel Marcus Wright, someone from her past, someone who was there in Afghanistan. "Actually, I do. That's why you're here. That's why you're so desperate, because for the first time someone's exposing your whole operation. You think this is about weapons, about cartels. This is about order, about control, systems put in place for a reason." "Systems built on bodies and lies," Emma responds. "Not anymore." Through the windows, more vehicles approach. The real force, the serious players coming to end what started in Afghanistan, what continued through years of hidden operations and buried secrets. "Here they come," Morgan announces. "The real Blackstone, tactical teams." Emma allows herself a cold smile. "Good. Time to show them why some ghosts don't stay buried. Because that's what this night is really about. Not just defending a building or protecting evidence. It's about bringing light to shadows, truth to lies. About finishing what started in Afghanistan, what continued through Casa de Muerte, what ends tonight in Paradise Valley. The war isn't over. It's just reaching its final phase. Red emergency lights paint Paradise Valley's federal building in crimson as Emma moves through familiar corridors. Every step calculated, every position chosen with tactical precision. Wright's elite teams push forward with lethal efficiency, exactly as she predicted. Their confidence makes them predictable, still using the same patterns she helped develop years ago. 3 teams converging on evidence storage, Morgan reports from his position, moving in standard Blackstone assault formation. "Perfect," Emma responds, watching through tactical feeds. Chen, status of the broadcasts. Last of the files being transmitted. Multiple agencies receiving data dumps. They can't contain this anymore. Wright's voice cuts through their comms, cold with fury. You have no idea what you're destroying. Systems put in place to maintain order, to control chaos. To build your own private empire, Emma interrupts, using cartels as cover, corrupt. Officials as puppets, not anymore. The battle intensifies as Blackstone's elite operators breach the third floor. These men move like liquid death, their coordination speaking of years of combat experience. But Emma's ready. Each corridor becomes a calculated kill zone, every room a tactical puzzle. Harrison's voice crackles through. They're splitting teams, two pushing toward evidence, one circling to flank. An explosion cuts him off as Wright's men breach another section. The building shakes but holds. Emma's defenders respond with disciplined fire, forcing the attackers to commit to prepared lanes of approach. They're good, Morgan observes, dropping another operator with a precise shot. But they're fighting blind, don't realize every move is taking them exactly where we want them. Through the tactical feeds, Emma watches Wright coordinating his forces. His technique is flawless, his strategic mind still sharp as ever, but he's missing the bigger picture, too focused on securing evidence that's already beyond his reach. Multiple targets entering evidence storage, Chen reports. But they don't realize the real evidence isn't even there, Emma finishes. Keep broadcasting. Don't let them shut down the feeds. The firefight reaches new intensity as Wright's men push harder. They're professional enough to know something's wrong, but their training works against them. When faced with uncertainty, they fall back on practiced responses, exactly as Emma planned. "Sir," one of Wright's commanders radios, "something's not right. These defensive positions. It's a trap." Wright realizes too late. "Pull back! All teams pull!" But his men are already committed, caught in prepared firing lanes with no easy retreat. Emma's defenders don't waste ammunition on wild shooting. Each shot is placed with surgical precision, disabling rather than killing. Harrison makes his move, cutting off their primary escape route with precise demolition charges. The explosion is controlled, calculated to deny mobility without causing collapse. More evidence of Emma's planning. "You taught me well, Colonel," Emma broadcasts on all frequencies, especially about using the enemy's expectations against them. Wright's response is to order his remaining teams to push harder. Elite operators move with deadly grace through smoke and emergency lighting, but each step takes them deeper into Emma's web. "Multiple targets approaching your position," Morgan warns. "They're adapting, changing patterns." Too late, Emma responds, moving to her final position. Chen hit the last sequence. The building's remaining power grid shifts, emergency lights creating disorienting patterns. Communications scramble as preset frequencies activate. Wright's carefully coordinated assault dissolves into confusion. "What have you done?" Wright demands. "Created chaos in your order," Emma responds, "just like you tried to do to us in Afghanistan. Remember when we found out what you were really building?" Through surveillance feeds, she watches Wright's expression change as realization hits. His empire isn't just being exposed, it's being dismantled using his own tactics, his own training. "Commander Pierce," Emma radios. "Status? National Guard units finally breaking through the roadblocks. FBI tactical teams 20 minutes out. Whatever you're planning will be done by then," she finishes, checking her weapon one final time, because that's what this night is really about, not just defending evidence or exposing corruption. It's about finishing what started in Afghanistan, about bringing light to shadows that have grown too long, about showing why some ghosts come back to haunt. All teams converge on my position, Wright orders, finally understanding the trap he's in. Find her, whatever it takes. Emma allows herself a cold smile as she moves through shadows she knows better than they do. Wright taught her well about tactics, about strategy, about hunting in the dark. Now it's time to show him how well she learned those lessons. The final confrontation approaches, and this ghost is ready to hunt. The federal building's emergency lighting casts shifting shadows as Emma moves through familiar corridors. Every step calculated, every position chosen with tactical precision. Wright's remaining elite teams converge on her location, but they're not hunting her anymore. She's hunting them. Final broadcast complete, Chen reports through secured comms. Evidence is being received by 17 different agencies. Financial records, operation details, names of everyone involved, it's all out there now. Which means we're out of time, Morgan adds, her rifle covering the main approach. Wright's men are switching to lethal protocols, no more concern about keeping things quiet. Emma watches through tactical feeds as Wright coordinates his remaining forces. His movements are precise, deliberate, the kind of efficiency that comes from decades of combat experience. But there's an edge of desperation now that the carefully constructed facade of his operation is crumbling. You still don't understand what you're destroying, Wright's voice carries through emergency channels. The networks we built, the control we maintained, it wasn't just about profit. It was about order. Order built on bodies, Emma responds, moving to her next position. Like the bodies you tried to bury in Afghanistan when we found out what you were really doing. The firefight intensifies as Wright's elite operators push through prepared defensive positions. These men are the best of the best, former Special Forces operators turned private military contractors. Their movements speak of extensive combat experience, each man a lethal weapon in human form. Multiple targets approaching from both flanks, Harrison warns from his observation post. They're adapting to our trap patterns, finding new angles. Let them come, Emma responds, checking her ammunition. Every move brings them closer to where we want them. Through surveillance feeds, she watches Wright's expression change as more revelations hit the news. His carefully constructed shadow, empire exposed piece by piece. Corrupt officials turning themselves in across 3 states, trying to cut deals before the hammer falls, criminal enterprises going dark as their protection evaporates. 10 years, Wright broadcasts, anger finally, cracking his professional demeanor. 10 years building a system to maintain control, to keep the borders secure, to manage the flow of everything from weapons to intelligence. And you're tearing it all down in one night. You taught me well, Emma responds, moving like a ghost through shadows she knows better than they do, especially about hitting enemies where they're weakest, their pride, their certainty, their belief that they're untouchable. The battle shifts as Wright's remaining teams push harder. These aren't just operators anymore, they're desperate. Men protecting a dying empire. Their tactics become more aggressive, more lethal, but Emma's ready. Commander Pierce, she radios. Status of incoming federal forces? FBI tactical teams in 10 minutes. National Guard units securing the perimeter. But Wright's got someone high up trying to delay them, calling in verification protocols, demanding authorization codes. Won't matter soon, Emma responds. Reaching her prepared position, Chen, how many agencies have acknowledged receipt of the evidence? 12 confirmed so far. 3 major news networks breaking the story, congressional oversight committees being notified. This goes higher than anyone suspected. Military contracts, intelligence operations, black budget diversions. Harrison's voice cuts through. Multiple breaching charges detected. They're about to hit the East Wing hard. The explosion cuts him off as Wright's men breach another section, but Emma's defenders are ready. Precise fire forces the attack into prepared kill zones, their own tactical training working against them as they follow standard assault protocols. You're still thinking like a soldier, Emma broadcasts to Wright, still fighting the last war. But this isn't about tactical superiority anymore. It's about truth, about exposing what you really built out here. Through the tactical feeds, she watches Wright's final teams converging on the evidence storage area. Their movements are flawless, their coordination perfect, exactly as expected. "Target located," one of Wright's commanders calls out. "Moving to secure." The rest is lost as Emma's final trap activates, not explosions or ambushes, something more devastating. Every screen in the building lights up with footage from Afghanistan, evidence of what really happened when her unit discovered Wright's operation, proof of the betrayal that started everything. "My God," Harrison breathes, watching the footage. "That's why they tried to bury you. You didn't just find weapons being diverted, you found everything. The whole network," Emma finishes, "how they were using military contracts as cover to build their own private intelligence empire, using cartels for distribution, corrupt officials for protection, black budgets for funding." Wright's voice carries real fury now. "You have no idea what you're doing, the chaos you're creating. Without our system, without our control, the world will have to manage without your private kingdom," Emma cuts him off. "Without your shadow empire built on blood and lies." The battle reaches new intensity as Wright's remaining loyal operators make their final push. These men are beyond professional now. They're fighting for survival. But Emma's defenders hold their positions, each shot precise, each movement calculated. "Multiple targets approaching your position," Morgan warns. "Wright's leading them. Personally now." "Good." Emma checks her weapon one final time. Time to finish what started in Afghanistan. Through the emergency lighting, she watches Wright's approach. His movements are still deadly efficient, every step speaking of decades of combat experience. But there's something else now, a desperation that makes him dangerous in new ways. "You were the best student I ever trained," Wright calls out, his voice echoing through darkened corridors. "The perfect operator until you developed a conscience." "You taught me too well," Emma responds, moving like a shadow through her prepared positions. "About loyalty, about duty, about what happens to people who betray those principles." The final confrontation approaches as federal sirens grow louder outside. Wright's empire is crumbling, his carefully constructed network of power and control exposed to the light. But he's still dangerous, maybe more dangerous than ever. "Commander Pierce," Emma radios, "keep federal forces back. This ends between us." Because that's what this night is really about, not just exposing corruption or bringing down a criminal empire. It's about finishing what started in Afghanistan, about bringing justice to those who died when Wright tried to bury his secrets. Through tactical feeds, she watches Wright's final approach, The teacher and student, the betrayer and betrayed, about to face each other one last time. But this isn't the same student he trained years ago. This isn't just another operator following protocols. This is a ghost coming to collect old debts, and ghosts don't follow anyone's rules. The war reaches its final phase as Emma Blackwood prepares to confront the man who made her what she is. The man who tried to bury her with his secrets, the man about to learn why some shadows bite back. The hunt isn't over, but it's about to end. Red emergency lights paint shadows across empty corridors as Emma moves toward her final confrontation. Years of training, combat experience, and carefully planned strategy have led to this moment. Wright may have been her teacher, but some students surpass their masters. Federal teams are 5 minutes out, Morgan reports through secured comms. Wright's delaying tactics aren't working anymore. Too many agencies involved now. Doesn't matter, Emma responds, checking her position. This ends before they arrive. Through tactical feeds, she watches Wright's remaining operators taking final positions. These men are beyond elite now. They're the true believers, the ones who bought into Wright's vision of controlled order. That makes them more dangerous than ever. You could have been part of it. Wright's voice echoes through darkened hallways. Could have helped build something greater than governments or borders. A system to control the chaos. By becoming the chaos, Emma moves like a ghost. Through prepared positions, using cartels as your private army, corrupt officials as puppets, military contracts as cover, building an empire on betrayal and bodies. The firefight intensifies as Wright's loyal men push toward her position. Their movements are still precise, professional, but there's an edge of desperation now. They know what's coming. Federal teams, investigations, exposure of everything they've built. Multiple tangos approaching from the East Wing, Harrison warns. They're not even trying to be subtle anymore. Because they can't afford to wait, Emma responds, moving to her next position. Chen, status of the broadcasts? Evidence is still streaming. 23 agencies now, plus major media outlets. They're trying to hack our feeds, but can't stop all of them. The whole network is being exposed. Military contracts, intelligence operations, black budget diversions, even found connections to operations in Europe and Asia. Wright's voice carries real anger now. You have no idea what you're destroying. The balance we maintained, the order we created. I saw your order in Afghanistan. Emma cuts him off, her voice cold. Saw what happened to anyone who threatened it. My team wasn't the first you tried to bury, were they? Just the first who survived. The battle shifts as Wright's men make their final push. These operators are fighting with the intensity of men who know they're doomed, making them unpredictable. But Emma's been planning for this moment since Casa de Muerte. Commander Pierce, she radios, keep federal teams back until my signal. This needs to end clean. They're not going to wait much longer, Pierce responds. Too many questions already about you, about what really happened here. They'll get their answers, but first we finish this. Through surveillance feeds, she watches Wright coordinating his last assault. His technique is still flawless, each movement speaking of decades of combat experience. But there's something else now, a desperateness that makes him dangerous in new ways. You remember what I taught you? Wright's voice carries through emergency channels. About how the best operators think 3 moves ahead. I remember everything, Emma responds, moving through shadows she knows better than they do, including what you didn't teach, what you hid from us until it was too late. The confrontation escalates as Wright's remaining teams breach new sections. These men aren't just fighting for survival anymore. They're fighting for their whole worldview, the belief that their actions served a greater purpose. "Sir," one of Wright's commanders radios, "Federal teams are breaking through our last roadblocks. We need to—" Wright cuts him off. "This ends here, one way or another." Emma watches through tactical feeds as Wright's men push harder. Their coordination is still impressive, but getting sloppier as pressure mounts, making mistakes they'd never make in normal operations. "Multiple targets converging on your position," Morgan warns. "They're not even trying to maintain tactical formation anymore." "Because they know it doesn't matter," Emma responds, reaching her final position. "Chen, initiate last sequence." The building's remaining systems shift as preset commands activate, not just lights and communications now, but something more devastating. Every screen comes alive with footage from multiple operations: Afghanistan, Eastern Europe, South America. Wright's entire empire exposed in high-resolution detail. "My God," Harrison breathes, watching the footage. "The weapons were just the surface. This is everywhere." "A shadow empire," Emma confirms, "built through decades of hidden operations, using military contracts for cover, cartels for distribution, corrupt officials for protection. A private kingdom beyond any government's control." Wright's voice carries pure fury now. "You think exposing this changes anything? The world needs order, needs control. Without our system, the world will manage without your private army." Emma cuts him off. "Without your network of killers and criminals playing at being peacekeepers." The final confrontation approaches as Wright's last loyal operators make their stand. These men are beyond professional now. They're true believers, fighting for their vision of order. But Emma's been preparing for exactly this. "Multiple breaching charges detected," Harrison warns. "They're going to hit hard." The explosion rocks the building as Wright's men make their final push. But Emma's ready. Each position covered, each angle calculated. The trap she's been laying since this began finally closing. "You taught me to think ahead," Emma broadcasts, "on all frequencies. To anticipate the enemy's moves. Did you anticipate this?" Through tactical feeds, she watches Wright's expression change as realization hits. The footage playing on every screen isn't just evidence, it's his entire operational history. Every mission, every operation, every secret he buried coming to light. "How?" he starts. "I had years to prepare," Emma responds, moving like a shadow through positions she's memorized perfectly. "Years to track every operation, document every connection. You taught me to be thorough." The battle reaches its peak as Wright's remaining. Men realize the truth. Their whole world, their belief in controlled order, crumbling as their leader's true nature is exposed. "Sir," one operator radios, "Federal teams are inside the perimeter. We need to stand and fight." Wright's command carries desperation now. "We can still contain this." "No." Emma's voice seems to come from everywhere at once. "You can't. Because I learned your final lesson too well, about how the best operators don't just think ahead, they change the game entirely." The last phase activates as Federal teams breach the perimeter. But they're not just tactical units now. Mixed among them are investigators, intelligence officers, prosecutors. Everyone needed to document and process what's being exposed. "It's over, Colonel," Emma calls out, moving to her final position. "Your empire's exposed, your network compromised, your loyal operators seeing the truth about what they really served." Through emergency lighting, she watches Wright's approach. His movements are still deadly efficient, but there's something else now, the desperation of a man watching his life's work crumble. "You were the perfect student," he snarls, weapon ready, "until you developed a conscience." "No," Emma responds. Emerging from shadows, she knows better than he does. "Until I remembered what you tried to make us forget, about loyalty, about duty, about what happens to people who betray those principles." The final confrontation begins as federal teams secure the building. But this isn't about agencies or evidence anymore. This is about finishing what started in Afghanistan, about bringing justice to those who died when Wright tried to bury his secrets. Because that's what this night is really about. Not just exposing corruption or bringing down a criminal empire. It's about showing why some ghosts don't rest until justice is served. The war reaches its final moments as teacher and student face each other one last time. But this isn't the same student he trained years ago. This isn't just another operator following protocols. This is a ghost coming to collect old debts, and ghosts play by their own rules. Paradise Valley's federal building stands silent, except for the echo of approaching footsteps. Emma and Wright face each other in the main corridor. Two lethal operators whose paths have led to this final confrontation. Around them, evidence of Wright's crumbling empire plays on every screen, years of secret operations exposed to light. "You still don't understand what you've done." Wright's voice carries decades of authority, his weapon trained with perfect form. "The chaos you've unleashed by destroying our system." "I understand perfectly," Emma responds, her own stance measured, professional. "I understand how you use military contracts to build your private army, how you use cartels for distribution, corrupted officials for protection, how you buried anyone who threatened to expose the truth. Through tactical feeds, they both watch federal teams securing the building's perimeter. Wright's remaining loyal operators are surrendering, finally accepting the inevitable. But this confrontation isn't about them anymore. Afghanistan wasn't just another operation. Wright's eyes never leave his former student. It was the beginning, the first step in building something greater than governments or borders. A system to control the flow of everything, weapons, intelligence, power itself. Built on betrayal and bodies, Emma moves with calculated precision, maintaining perfect tactical position. "How many teams did you bury before us? How many operators disappeared to protect your secret empire?" The tension builds as they circle each other, two apex predators in their final hunt. Wright's movement speaks of decades of combat experience, but Emma sees what others might miss, the slight tremor of desperation, the edge of fury beneath his professional facade. "Valentina," Emma speaks into her comm, "status of the broadcasts?" "Still streaming to all agencies. They're seeing everything, the weapon shipments, the corrupt officials, the hidden operations. 30 years of secret empire exposed in real time." Morgan's voice adds, "Federal teams are processing Wright's operators. They're talking, trying to cut deals. The whole network's unraveling." Wright's laugh carries cold appreciation. "You planned this perfectly, didn't you? Used Casa de Muerte to expose the cartels. Used that to reveal the corrupt officials. Used them to expose the whole operation, just like I taught you, attack the enemy's foundation. You taught me well, Emma acknowledges, still moving with lethal grace. About strategy, about patience, about how the best operators think 3 moves ahead. Through the emergency lighting, they continue their deadly dance, each movement calculated, each position chosen with tactical precision. 2 masters of their craft in their final confrontation. Commander Pierce, Emma radios. Status? Federal teams have secured the perimeter. FBI, DEA, military intelligence, they're all here. Whatever happens next gets witnessed. Harrison's voice adds, last of Wright's loyal operators are in custody. It's just him now. The screens around them continue displaying evidence of Wright's empire, secret operations across 3 continents, hidden weapon shipments, decades of carefully constructed power plays, all of it exposed to the harsh light of justice. You could have been part of it, Wright offers one last time. Could have helped build something lasting, something bigger than laws or borders. Like you offered my team in Afghanistan, Emma's voice carries cold purpose. Before you tried to bury us with your secrets. The tension peaks as they reach their final positions. Wright's tactical genius shows in how he's maneuvered them, trying to force her into a disadvantageous angle. But Emma's been planning this moment for years. Federal teams breaching the perimeter, Morgan reports. 2 minutes out. Hold them, Emma orders. This ends between us. Wright's attack comes with explosive speed, a combination of strikes that would incapacitate a normal opponent. But Emma isn't normal anymore. She's become something else, something forged in betrayal and honed by years of hunting. The fight that follows is a masterclass in close-quarters combat. Wright's experience shows in every move, each attack flowing perfectly into the next. But Emma matches him perfectly, using his own techniques against him. You really did learn everything. I taught, Wright acknowledges, recovering from a blocked combination. Every tactic, every strategy, including what you didn't teach, Emma counters, her own attacks precisely measured. About loyalty, about honor, about what happens to people who betray those principles. Through the tactical feeds, Federal teams watch in professional appreciation as 2 elite operators demonstrate the peak of their craft. But this isn't just about combat anymore. It's about justice long delayed. Your empire's finished. Emma presses her advantage. Your network exposed, your loyal operators seeing the truth about what they really served. Wright's response is another lightning combination of attacks. But there's something different now. The desperation of a man watching his life's work crumble, making him sloppy, predictable. You think exposing this changes anything? He snarls between strikes. The world needs order, needs control. The world will manage without your private kingdom, Emma counters, turning his own momentum against him. Without your network of killers and criminals playing at being peacekeepers. The final sequence comes with brutal efficiency. Wright's attack is perfect, exactly as he taught her years ago. But Emma's counter is something else, a move born from years of hunting predators like him. When it's over, Wright lies secured as Federal teams finally breach the corridor. His expression carries something like pride mixed with fury as he watches his former student. Perfect technique, he acknowledges as agents approach. Used my own tactics against me, just like I taught you. No, Emma responds, watching him being taken into custody. You taught me to bury the truth. I learned to expose it instead. The aftermath comes quickly as Federal teams secure the building. Rights remaining operators are processed, evidence catalogued, years of secret empire documented for prosecution. But Emma's attention is elsewhere. "Morgan," she radios, "status of the broadcasts? Still streaming. Every agency, every major news outlet, Wright's whole operation exposed, along with everyone connected to it. The shadow empire's burning." Commander Pierce approaches, looking aged by recent events. Washington's going crazy, military contracts suspended, officials being arrested, investigations launching across 3 continents. It's exactly like you predicted. "Because Wright taught me to think ahead," Emma responds, watching Federal. "Teams work. To anticipate every possibility, to change the game entirely." Valentina joins them, tablet displaying incoming data. They're finding everything. Hidden accounts, secret operations, decades of buried evidence. It's all coming to light. Harrison adds, "Other cartels are already turning on each other, trying to claim Víbora's territory. But without Wright's network protecting them, they'll tear each other apart." "Exposing more connections," Emma finishes. "More corruption, more truth." Through the tactical feeds, she watches Wright being led away. His perfect posture remains, his professional demeanor intact, but his eyes tell the truth, the look of a man watching his empire burn. "Agent Blackwood," an FBI tactical commander approaches. "They'll have questions about your background, about how you knew." "Let them ask," Emma cuts him off. "The truth's already out there, all of it." Dawn breaks over Paradise Valley as federal teams continue processing the scene. In holding cells and safe houses across 3 states, corrupt officials and cartel leaders face the consequences of their actions. Wright's shadow empire, built through decades of secret operations and buried bodies, exposed to the light of justice. Commander Pierce watches Emma preparing to leave. "What will you do now?" "What ghosts do best," she responds, checking her weapon one final time. "Hunt other predators, expose other secrets, remind people why some shadows bite back." Because that's what this night was really about. Not just bringing down a criminal empire or exposing corruption. It's about showing why some ghosts don't rest until justice is served. About proving that even the most carefully buried truths eventually come to light. The war is over, but for Emma Blackwood, the hunt never really ends. There are always more shadows to explore, more predators to face, more truth to expose. That's what ghosts do best. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.